are our services fit for purpose? Are we happy with the waiting times for our hospital appointments and our doctor's appointments? Are we happy with the education of our children and what they're being taught? Are we happy with the cleanliness of our streets or the safety of our streets? Now, I can imagine there's a lot of different opinions here, but I think there's general consensus that there can be room for improvement. Now, this is not an attack on the people that work within those fields and those sectors. This is about the capacity that they're trying to work within at this moment. Because already overwhelmed, we're facing a crisis. A lot of people think about the cost of living crisis and they think of an individual, but it's an institutional crisis. We hear about public services being cut, local authorities declaring themselves bankrupt, community organisations and charities closing their doors for the final time, and they've been around for decades. And that's really important to notice, because when those services do get overwhelmed, where do people go? They go to the third sector, they go to the charities. And they haven't got a guaranteed income stream. They're dependent on charitable donations and grants, both of which are in decline. So we need to look at the way that our services are delivered. We need to go back to the drawing board. We need to involve the people that use those services. Now, we do have a methodology, and we're pretty good at it in Wales. We've even got a really successful network called the Coproduction network, and it is called Coproduction. Now, my own definition of co-production is to co-design, co-deliver, and co-own a service in equality and reciprocity. But if we don't have that first part, that co-design part, the rest falls down. So I've been working in a field of cooperatives and co-production and community development for years now. And I'd like to share with you my 8 tips for good co-design. Number 1, we need to create multiple small, diverse teams. Let's stick with that word multiple first. Rule of thumb is for every 100 ideas we have, only one of them is only going to be of use or of any good. So we need lots of ideas, hundreds of ideas. So if we look at the traditional way of designing services, do you think a team is going to sit there and come up with hundreds upon hundreds and hundreds of ideas? I don't think so. We need multiple ideas and multiple teams. But those teams also need to be small and diverse. Personally, I like to work within teams of about 5 to 8 people, because when you've got a small team, you can ensure that the balance of power is equal, and you have different people from all different sides of society all having an equal representation around that table. I'll give you an example. A couple of months ago, I did a workshop, 2 workshops in fact, back to back. On day 1, I worked with about 40 civil servants in 6 teams trying to come up with ideas to mitigate the cost of living crisis. Sorry to disappoint you guys, but those ideas weren't very good. Not good at all, to be honest with you. But that's no reflection on those people in that room. It was a reflection on the lack of diversity. Because the next day, delivered another workshop which involved 9 teams. But each of those 9 teams were made up of small, diverse groups. Teams of 4, and those 4 consisted of a young person, a civil servant, a teacher, and a community member. Now, those 9 different teams come up with some fantastic ideas. And not just 9 fantastic ideas, 9 different fantastic ideas, which could work together to create an even more powerful solution. So this is why we need to start working, rather than in big or single teams or collections of people, we need to work in small, multiple, diverse teams. So once we've got that team, what we need to do is combine our assets and strengths. If we're going to fix a problem, we need to have the best tools in our toolbox to be able to do so. So we need to have all those different people from all those different perspectives bring in all the tools that they can to fix that problem. So what are those tools? Like I say, I talk in assets and strengths, and I used to work for Oxfam, and they introduced me to 5 different themes of strength, if you like, and I still use those to today. Those are social assets. These are the connections, the networks we have. We have human assets. These are the things that we've got, our individuals, and those individual team members are bringing to the table. So we look at the head, the hand, and the heart. The head being the knowledge, the experience, The hand being the skills and the things they can do, and the heart being the motivations and drivers. The next asset that we need to look at is public assets. We'd be quite naive to think that us trying to fix this problem as one service alone is going to resolve it. Everything overlaps everything within society, so we need to look at what other services are at our disposal and can help us resolve this problem. The fourth one is physical assets. These are just physical items that we need to function and operate and do what we need to do, such as computers, laptops, vehicles, buildings, etc. And the final asset is financial assets. Now, I purposely leave that to last because personally, I think a lot of our badly designed services have been because we've aimed towards a budget first. Don't you think it's a better idea to come up with the best solution we can, then have a look at all the assets at our disposal before we look at the budget? 3, investigate from different perspectives. Because we're using diverse teams, we will have different people from different aspects of society helping us not only deconstruct the problem, but rebuild the solution. In that small, diverse team, we need the people that design the services. We need the people that deliver the service. We also need, integrally, we need the people that use those services. But we also need people from outside to give their perspective. But this whole working with people doesn't happen enough for me. I'll give you an example of another workshop we did. We were looking at trying to come up with ideas to get people into work. And we had a table there, and someone from a job agency said, I don't even know why I'm here. My colleagues and I, we've been working on this plan for years. We've got this idea, blah, 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 blah. And next to him, and unbeknownst to him, because we were in a diverse team, was a long-term job seeker who just looked at him with his jaw drops in. That's an awful idea. I'd never be involved in that. And that was just case in point that that person had been subject of his own echo chamber and hadn't actually consulted with the people that require those services to make them more bespoke and more fitting. The next, we need to develop out-of-the-box ideas. There's a theory that if you want to create a new idea, you need to have the specialist subject matter, but we also needed to mix it with generalist information, if you like. That's how we create new ideas. That's why we need these diverse teams. If we only had the people which are involved in that service in that room at our one time, we'll end up just having logical ideas, and we won't get those hundreds of ideas we need. What we need is creative thinking. I'll give you an example. One of the exercises that we do in our workshop to kind of express this, and I don't usually carry a fork with me on a daily basis, I can tell you that now, but we do an exercise where we say, in the next 60 seconds, come up with as many ideas as you can, alternative ideas for use for this fork, other than eating. And in the first 10 seconds, we have the usual suspects. I've heard of it all before. Paul, you can use this to comb your hair, you can mark pastry, you can spearfishing. But after the first 20 seconds, logic goes out of the window and people start to think creatively. And some really weird and wild and wonderful ideas come up. But it's those really weird and wild ideas that when you mix them with the original subject, you'll create something new. And that's when the magic happens. Number 5, embrace failure. We're pretty rubbish at this in Wales and in services. So many times do I see a service being delivered and it's not working, but we don't do anything about it. You know, what's Einstein's saying that you try the same thing over and over again, expecting different results? It's the definition of insanity, but I see it. We need to learn and accept that failure is good. Picasso did not paint Guernica on day one, on his first attempt. Steve Jobs did not come up with the iPhone on his first attempt. There was lots of failures before that, and they were geniuses. So we need to allow that we need to fail. Failure is actually good. Failure means that we've started, and now we've got something to learn from that we can progress from. So we need to accept that we need to fail. And in that, once we do arrive at our idea, we need to learn that we need to iterate. That once we have our idea, it's not the beginning. It's not the end, sorry. It's the beginning. The world changes quickly. Gone are the days where we come up with a service and we believe that that service is going to be exactly the same for the next 5 years. If the last 5 years have shown us anything, the world can change drastically. COVID, Ukraine, cost of living, and now we've got AI. That's going to change the world significantly. So whatever we do, we need to allow that room for maneuver. We need to allow that room for flexibility, being agile, so that we can move with society. The next point is really a call to action. Just do it. If we wait for our leaders to get us to working like this, we'll be waiting a very long time. What we need is public services that open their arms and welcome community members and people that will use those services in their design. Not consultation, that's different. Design, we're going further back. And when I have been working in these fields before, doing consultation, co-production, and working with these groups, the biggest pushback I always have is from community members. I'm not expert enough, or they're a bit scary, those people. Who's going to listen to me? Well, they should listen to you, because this is a 50-50 relationship. One is providing the service, one is using that service. So that person should have a vested interest in the design of that service coming forward. And so I always tell people, be a change maker. I really believe that. Anyone, anywhere can be a change maker. Everyone in this room, anyone who's watching this online can be a change maker. When I started my community development journey 20 years ago, I read a book by Malcolm Gladwell called The Tipping Point. And in that book, he mentions 3 personalities. And when I finished my on the ground, if you like, work in community development, I read the book again, I don't know how, and I had a bit of a light bulb moment, and I realized every successful project I have ever witnessed throughout my career from a community level had these 3 people involved, or one of these 3 people involved. And who are they? Number 1, the connector. This is a person or an organization just willingly likes to connect people, to build relationships. Number 2, the Maven. This is someone or an organization that loves to absorb information, but equally loves to share that information back as well. At no cost, just willingly likes to tell people anything and everything, and that can be specialist or generalist. And finally, there's the salesperson. Now for me that sounds a little bit commercial, and in my workshops I changed that word to influencer, but thanks social media, I've just changed the connotation of that word as well. But now I use trusted. In my old community, unbeknownst to her, the most powerful person in that community was the lady that ran the local community centre. Everyone grew up with her, and everyone trusted her. They just loved her. And if I wanted a project to launch a project in that community, I would sound it past her before. And if she liked it, it'll work, because her word will just pass and resonate through the community, and people will help. But if she didn't like it, well, I'm still trying to find the other 2, to be honest with you. But she was powerful, and she would never, ever admit that, and she would never even realize it. But these are 3 types of people that can create social movements at pace. And as you can see, you don't need to be an expert, and you don't need to have a degree. You just need to be one of these 3 types of people. So I started with a question, and I'm going to end with a question. Which one of these 3 are you? Thank you. Diolch.